Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast. Year 12 exam season kicks off this week in New South Wales and around the country over the next few weeks. In today's podcast, we're going to be short, sharp and focused. If your kids are in Year 12 or they've got exams coming up, even if they're not in Year 12, what matters, what doesn't, how do you get it right, what do you do as a parent, how do the kids navigate it? We're going to answer that and more in just a moment. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every day. This is Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. Kylie, today we're stepping into short and sharp conversations about how to help kids to succeed as they do their Year 12 exams or any exams at all. You've got three things that you've been thinking about. I've got three things that I've jotted down, and we're going to kick that off right now. Let's do it this way. I'm going to do one, then you can do one, and then we'll sort of wrap it all up. I'm going to go first. My first one is as follows. You are not your ATAR. In 2 years, no one is going to care about your ATAR. I know it feels like it's big. I know it's big. I know everybody's been telling you that this is the most important time of your life, but it's just, it's going to be okay. You're not your ATAR, and you can be successful in life even if you completely flunk Year 12. It really just comes down to finding the thing that you want to do and focusing on that. I think that the Year 12 exams are massively overrated. I think that they're very much about, this is going to sound awful, but I think they're about a marketing ploy for schools to say, look how well our students did, so that they can extract more money from families who want to pay for their children to do just as well because they really think that it matters. But in 2 years' time, no one's going to care. And you are not your ATAR. I also fundamentally believe that the overwhelming majority of people should not go straight to university out of high school. You need at least a gap year, maybe 2 or 3 years to grow up, have a think a little bit about what you want, and then maybe go back if you want to go to uni down the track. Controversial, provocative, but that's my number one. Don't sweat it because it's not that big a deal. Oh, and I scored in the bottom 15% of the state. I know so many people who are like literally doctors or have PhDs who completely failed high school or didn't even finish high school. You can still have a successful life without doing well at school. Not that I'm saying that education doesn't matter. It matters a lot, but your performance on these exams is not the be all and end all. That's my number one. Any reaction, any response, or do you want to do your first one straight up?
Well, my number one actually marries beautifully with that. I would say that it's so important for you to just maintain a healthy diet, good sleep, and some form of exercise, some form of outlet, not because the exams matter so much, but generally speaking, when we're stressed out, when we're not coping, when we feel overwhelmed, they're actually the first three things that go. And in order for us to live happy, healthy lives, we need to tap into those three things. So there is nothing so important that we should forego any of those.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then it's just so important.
So you're not going to do well on your exams if you're stressed, if you're sleep deprived, if you stayed up all night the night before cramming. You might actually hold on to it in short-term memory sort of until the next day-ish. That's not really technically short-term memory, but it'll drop out again pretty soon. You're not going to have learnt it. You will have memorized it, but you're not going to do that well with it. That actually ties in. I've kind of gone on a tangent from what you were saying, but that ties in with my second one, which is that let's work on the assumption that these exams do have some value for some people. Like they will be important for some people in spite of everything that I said in my first point. If you want to do well, remembering requires forgetting. So slow down, allow yourself to forget stuff and then relearn it, because the second time you learn it or the third time you learn it, you're going to hang on to it way better than the first time. Like you just encode, process, embed the material in your brain so much better when you learn it and then forget it and then relearn it and then forget it and then relearn it. That's the way to do great learning. So they're my first two. Your first one. After the break, we'll go through three more short, sharp, friendly, hopefully helpful tips that will guide your children to success during this Year 12 or Term 4 exam period. Welcome back. This is the Happy Families podcast. I'm Justin Coulson. I'm here with my wife, Kylie. Kylie, what is your second one if we want our kids to do well on these exams or to get through this exam period that everyone says is the most stressful and important period of their lives well?
Often we talk about this word balance. It doesn't exist, so I don't like using it.
Yeah.
But we've talked about eating healthy, getting adequate sleep, and some form of exercise, moving your body for well-being, to actually optimize just our well-being. But my second one kind of taps into that a little bit. It's about taking time out, some form of recreation. We call it recreation, but it is actually about recreating ourselves, finding an outlet to feel rejuvenated. And the best way we can do that, generally speaking, is connecting with people we love.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, if you do want to do well on these exams, you get anxious about it. You don't do well because you're anxious, right? High emotions equals low intelligence.
We also think, though, that in order to show people that we're committed, we lock ourselves in our room for days on end. We don't go to bed. All of those crazy things that stop us from doing the things that will actually help.
Yeah, actually, just adding on to that, social media, like minimize your social media time. It's going to fry your brain. Brain rot. Hello, brain rot, right there. My last one, Kylie, is the gap years are good. Gap years are good, which again means that we can take the pressure off. We've been painstakingly explicit with our kids about how we don't expect them to go straight on to further schooling after high school. They've just done 13 years. They're burnt out. They're over it. They haven't enjoyed it for the most part. And then they're going to buckle in for another 4 years and just get through that so they can get a degree and then go and work. And we've said, no, that's not what we're all about. We would prefer that you get some range and depth. I've got one of my favorite books on my bookshelf is called Range by David Epstein. And he's looked at a whole lot of research that shows that you can leap ahead of the pack in your 20s and even your 30s. But by the time your 40s arrive, people who have much broader range and depth are the ones who start to, I guess, win the quote-unquote race. Life is not a race. Once you're out of high school, there's no more finish lines. You just go and do your thing. And I think gap years is just so good. I've been writing about gap years in the boys' book that I've put together that is currently with the publisher, and I'm just waiting on the final edit to come through. And I wrote so much about gap years because they're so valuable. Check this out. I want to read something to you. This is the intro to the chapter about gap years in the book. In one of my favorite blog posts ever, Brett McKay, founder of the website and podcast The Art of Manliness, describes famous men of previous generations. He points out the following. Before Steve McQueen's 18th birthday, he'd worked on a farm, joined a circus, sold pens at a travelling carnival, hitchhiked across the USA, worked as a lumberjack, laboured on a chain gang, served illegally in the Merchant Marine underage, and joined the Marine Corps. One more time for emphasis, he did it all before the age of 18. Sean Connery served in the Royal Navy as a teenager, worked as a milkman, lifeguard, truck driver, and once took on 6 gang members single-handedly, fighting them and earning their respect. Writers like Jack London had tramped around the country by rail, sailed the Pacific aboard a seal hunting schooner, and ventured into Western Canada's Klondike region seeking gold, all before the age of 22. Of course, yes, there's some selection bias, but the stories are compelling and a stark contrast to today's young men. Moreover, these weren't cherry-picked celebrities with exceptional backgrounds. Most young men of previous generations accumulated rich, varied experiences, often physically demanding, occasionally dangerous, that built their capacity and character. They discovered their capabilities by testing boundaries in real-world contexts. Their histories document purpose, satisfaction, and happiness. Today's boys encounter a different landscape. Regulatory constraints, safety concerns, parental anxiety, supervised schedules, and the need to win the rat race have crowded out the space for autonomous and healthy exploration and risk-taking. As McKay notes, contemporary youth follow predictable, sanitized paths with few opportunities for consequential choices and real-world testing. Perhaps, he suggests, our youth today are the least interesting generation. And then I go on to look at what the research evidence says about how gap years are beneficial. There's the University of Sydney study, 900 first-year students taking a year off between high school and university had positive effect on student motivation, translated to a real boost in performance in the first semesters at uni when they went back. And there's a whole bunch of other studies that show that gap years, people do actually go back to school and they do better and they feel better about life. That's my last one. I know it's a sort of a long spiel from me, but my third thing is gap years. Take the pressure off year 12, do well enough, but have a couple of years off, and then go back to school if that's what you wish to do, or build a business, or go and earn a trade. Those kinds of things will round you out and give you a much richer, fuller life than just racing from one school experience to the next school experience. Former university lecturer speaking from first-hand experience.
I remember when you decided to go back to school and you started off at TAFE because you had done so poorly in high school. You actually needed to do a bridging course.
Yeah.
And your teachers just loved you because you were, 4 or 5 years along in life. You had a wife, children.
I think I was 27. 26 or 27. So I had almost a decade out of high school, and with children and a wife and a mortgage.
And you stood out because you were up against 17, 18-year-old school leavers who had no idea why they were there,
and who
were
hated school anyway.
Completely burnt out, hated the process, and the teachers just lapped you up because you had something to say. And then you went to uni, and I think it was probably one of the hardest years of our marriage because you had spent your whole education life up till that point believing you were an idiot. You were absolutely dumb.
Yeah, I truly believed that. I still don't believe that. Well, now I don't believe there's such a thing as smart or dumb, because I was dumb and then I blitzed uni.
And then you got into your first year of uni and it was like there's a brain explosion took place and you didn't want to come home.
No, I didn't.
Like you just were gobbling up everything that you could, like just soaking it up like a sponge. And I'm watching the same thing happen with our 25-year-old daughter who's had this big gap and she's gone back to uni this year. And I get a phone call nearly every day to tell me about something that she learned in class, something she's observed in an appointment.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but you're almost in tears saying this, and I just want to provide the contrast. She's ringing you to say, guess what I learned about at school today?
Yeah.
Like, how many teenagers come home and say, guess what I learned at school today? Do you know what I mean? Like this.
Our 22-year-old, she's gone back. She's had a couple of years off.
She wants to play.
She would sit at the table and tell us all the names of the bones in her hand.
She wants to play Kahoot so that we can learn anatomy because she's loving anatomy so much. And she's like, let's have Friday night Kahoot and go through my anatomy textbook. How fun would that be?
And we're all like, we don't know. And she's like, yeah, but then I'll win.
but this is my point. We make this. I mean, I've laboured this far too long. This is meant to be really quick, so I'll wrap this. We labour the importance of school. You've got to get this education. You've got to do well in your Year 12 exams. You've got to get a high ATAR. I just don't believe it. I fundamentally don't believe it.
You talk about this generation being one of the most boring generations.
Yeah, the least interesting generation.
Yeah. It's because we're all going in a straight line.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. That was a great metaphor. Yeah.
We're all going in a straight line. You look at all of those other examples you shared and all of the things. I love talking to old people and asking them what their first job was. And then kind of just having that conversation and seeing where the twists and turns of life took them. Because there was no straight line.
I had a conversation just recently with a fellow who'd be in his 80s. It was an impromptu, unexpected conversation. We were having a chat. I asked him where he lived, and he told me he lives on a huge parcel of land overlooking the ocean at Alexandra Headland on the Sunshine Coast. And I asked him how long he's been there, and I said I can't even picture where it is, and I know the area really well. And he said no, it's very hidden, and told me a bit more about it. I said that must be worth a fortune. It's got incredible views. It's a huge block. And he said to me, well, we think we've done reasonably well. I said, how did you get there? Like, how did you end up? What did you do for work? And he was so funny. He cracked up. He said, I'm still doing a little bit of it. I can't let go. I just love what I do so much. But then he told me this convoluted, bizarre story about how he was doing X and Y and Z, and he ended up in Japan and they ended up over in Taiwan. And even now, he's still working on importing Asian car parts into the country for people who are car enthusiasts. And it's just that has been what it took for him to end up having this wonderful life that he's lived and have this property with these beautiful views and all that sort of thing. And again, you don't have to do well at school to do so many things. You just need to find the thing that you're willing to stick with and give it a really good crack. Say yes to experiments. Say yes to experiments and say no to commitments until you're at least 30. And then once you sort of get into your 30s, you start to zero in on what you want to do. You've had the range. So now you start saying no to experiments and yes to commitments because you know what you want to commit to. But gap years. I've laboured the point for too long. What's your last one?
It's perspective's everything.
Oh, right.
We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not the be end.
The be all and end all?
It isn't.
Yep.
So just take a deep breath, do the best you can, and remember that in 2 years' time, it's not even going to matter.
Yeah, a quick personal anecdote. I don't know if it's appropriate that I share this or not, but I'm popping it on the pod anyway, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully we won't get in too much trouble. Our daughter, who's finishing year 12 right now, she's about to start all of her exams as well. She's getting an ATAR because she personally wants to do well. She just wants to have the experience of doing well in year 12. She's conscientious like that. But she's already told us she's going to have 2 to 3 gap years. She's going to follow the example of her big sisters who are all doing the same thing and have then subsequently gone back to school because they know what they want to do and why they're doing it, or at least they're willing to give it a go. And it's been really nice to see how low and light the pressure has been, because she knows that in 2 years' time, her ATAR doesn't mean squat. I don't know if that's impressive. I don't know if that's distressing. I'm not sure how that lands for you, but they're our bits and pieces of advice as we head into the year 12 exam season. Don't cancel us. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides research, admin, and additional support. If you'd like more information about the things we've talked about, I've got a whole chapter about it in my upcoming boys book. You can register your interest at happyfamilies.com.au and visit happyfamilies.com.au for more info about making your family thrive.